really good for me. But I need to be there in person. I need to be watching it. I need to look out the window and see the cars racing. Even though we use the program and we have the program that you're watching on a screen in front of us, and we've got replays and in-car cameras and buttons to mash to see every camera and every in-car. I can mash a button and I can look at every camera that we have on the facility, and I can go to every single in-car camera, bumper camera, nose camera, whatever camera we've got. I can see it immediately. We've got the rundown of the cars, the lap times, when they pitted, how many tires they took. I mean, we've got more information than we really need in that booth. But nothing is the assist that being there in person is. Nothing is as important or as helpful toward to getting that energy and that real passion for what you're seeing as being in person. You know how people talk about going to say somebody says, man, I'm a huge fan of the Carolina Panthers. Love watching them on TV. Well, you ever been in a game? No. Oh, you got to go. The game, it's so much better in person. Well, broadcasting is the same way. It's so much better in person, and I'm going to have a hard time sort of capturing that energy that you get from seeing the cars in person and that you get from the fans and their reaction to what they're seeing and all the things that are happening. So there's only one savior in that, and fans used to say when we first started broadcasting in 2018, the comments that we initially got right out of the gate were, wow, that's great. It sounds like guys, just friends on a couch watching the race themselves. That's what it sounds like. I love it. It sounds like guys just hanging out, buddies hanging out at a bar watching it on TV. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be hanging out in a room watching it on TV, just like you're doing at home, and we're just going to talk about it. And so that's what I'm worried most about is how that's going to come across to you guys that are watching it at home. Will we have, will we be able to really complement the race with the energy that it deserves, right? If it's a fantastic event, hopefully we can complement it the way that we should. But it'll be tough not being there in person. So we'll see how that works. Watching the Fox guys, Mike Joy, Jeff Gordon, I've really come to appreciate the challenge that they've been put into, the challenging situation of having to cover the race from a studio. And I think that they learned a lot and improved and did a relatively great job considering the circumstances. And hopefully we can fall in there. And we're going to do one race at Indy or one weekend. And then we're going to hand it back over to Fox, and then we're going to take it back and finish the season. So that's going to be an interesting back and forth, but should be a lot of fun. And I think this is a great time to let people know about an idea that we had. That it is not going to happen this year since we're not racing at Sonoma, but one of the things that we talked about doing this year was put me in the Fox booth at Sonoma.
We did talk about this.
Yeah. As a way to sort of pass the baton, because Sonoma is the last race that Fox does before they hand it off to NBC for the rest of the season. Well, I was more than likely going to be in the booth at Sonoma with Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy. That was something I was extremely excited about. Unfortunately, considering the circumstances, none of that's going to happen this year. I'm hoping that we can pick, do that next season. I think it'll be a fun way to transition from Fox to NBC. In a way to sort of interweave the booths together for one event. But unfortunately, not going to do that this year. This is going to be completely it's really unexpected the way we're going to have to do it. And but hopefully we do a great job. And between me, Burton, Rick Allen, Letarte, there's going to be enough people in there willing to talk and kind of we've been able to watch Fox go through this process, and we all are on a text chain sort of communicating about what we're seeing and how Fox is doing what they're doing and what we like, what we might change, what we can add, because it's so easy being, armchair quarterback in that instance. and think about what you might do differently. And so hopefully we've learned a lot from Fox over the past couple of weeks and can come in and do a good job.
Next question coming from Teresa Robinette. Historically, when NASCAR began in the early years, how much practice time did drivers have with their cars prior to race day? Personally, I believe the racing recently has been great.
That's great. That's such a great question. I do know that in the 80s and the 70s, for a race at pretty much any racetrack, they would come in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and open the racetrack up at 8 o'clock in the morning and close it at 5. So if you were Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt or Bobby Allison, you could pull into the racetrack at Charlotte for the race weekend. The race is going to happen on Sunday. You could get there Wednesday and practice all day. You could practice all day Thursday if you wanted to. They might have first round qualifying on Thursday, lock in the top 20. Then Friday, practice all day. Track's open from 8 to 5. They might have second round qualifying on Friday. Then Saturday, practice all day. They're going to have an Xfinity race. There was just so much practice. A lot of guys would, obviously only run a couple hours. If the track was open on Thursday from 8 to 5, they're only going to run, couple hours. They're not going to spend the entire day on the racetrack, but you got to pick and choose what time of day you wanted to go out and what conditions you wanted to go out on the racetrack. Maybe Xfinity, got an hour here and there in the middle of all that stuff. But it was there was a ton of track time. There was a live racetrack for half of the week. At a lot of these races back in the 70s and the 80s. Now they trimmed that way down to one of my favorites was Happy Hour, where the guys would go out and run after the Xfinity race. To me, that was such a critical time to be able to get on the racetrack if you were a cup driver, because you're really getting on the racetrack right at the end of the Xfinity race. It's full of rubber and debris, and it's slick and uncomfortable, exactly the way it's going to be in the race. We've never been able to practice on a racetrack in a situation that was so comparable ever since they've taken that opportunity away. Now all the practices, when they do happen in the mornings before the Xfinity race. But who knows how it's going to be. That's one thing we haven't heard the governing body talk about. As we come out of the pandemic and things are basically, wide open and you can create any canvas you want, what will NASCAR do? We haven't really heard them come forward and say, hey, this is sort of what we're planning on doing for next year or the years beyond when it comes to practice and how much time the teams will truly get. I'm sure that they're going to get at least a sliver of an opportunity to go out there and make sure their cars are okay and there's no loose parts or anything leaking or anything like that. But honestly, man, I don't know that they need more than that. I've really enjoyed what we've seen this year with the limited practice and no qualifying and so forth. I don't even necessarily know that I need cars to qualify. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm just enjoying the races.
We talked about Xfinity Series racing on the IMS road course this weekend. Jimbo wants to know if you think it'd be feasible for the Cup or Xfinity Series to race at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be fun for us to go to a lot of road courses across the country and give, maybe not, that's tough because if you add a race, you got to take away a race, and where do you take a race from? It starts an interesting conversation. But I would love for our series to have like a rotating event. Maybe it's just it's a summertime road course event that is a different road course each year. Road America, Road Atlanta. There's a lot of great tracks across the country, Laguna Seca, where the Cup cars could go and sort of just, be at a different venue year after year and just see what that's like and see how that works and then incorporate more of that if that's a successful process. But everything in moderation, right?
Fun question from Brian Wiltshire. With the 4th of July being this weekend, do you have any crazy fireworks stories?
Well, yeah, we used to buy way too many fireworks, and we used to set way too many fireworks off, and that encouraged one of my neighbors when Brad Kozlowski was renting a house beside my property. He would buy just boxes and cases of fireworks and spend the entire night lighting those things off in the middle of the summer, and anything could go wrong. Not only could somebody get injured by a firework, but it could end up landing in a field somewhere or catching the woods on fire, or you just have no idea what's going to happen in the middle of the night like that with everybody around. I mean, 30, 40 people hanging out drinking beer. It's just not a good combination. But luckily, Brad was smart, and nothing ever happened over his place. Luckily for us, we never had any troubles or any injuries or anything like that or anything go bad. Just recently, I was snooping around in a storage closet and found some old fireworks. And this box is probably about 6 by 6 inches, and you set it on the ground and light it, and it shoots a bunch of stuff up in the air for about, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So I set it out there on the ground, and Amy's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to light this thing off, see what happens." And so it's going, and Isla is terrified. She's never seen anything like this before. So she's crying. Now I feel awful because Isla's upset. And the horses, we've got 3 rescues that we've accumulated over the last couple decades. One's this tiny miniature horse that we've had forever. We got a giant donkey, huge donkey, and then a older female horse that we just recently got. They're running all over this pasture. I feel terrible, even worse now. I was crying. Horses are running everywhere.
You've got a stampede going.
And this thing's going. And I'm like, Amy, it's going to stop eventually. And it keeps going. It keeps, doo, doo, doo. I'm like, damn, when's that thing going to stop? Everybody's all pissed off at me. Amy's mad. So, yeah, that's what fireworks are like now. Over at my place, we used to be 40, 30 people hanging around drinking a lot of beer and having a lot of fun, and now it's crying babies and horses scattering for their lives.
Tatanka,
yeah,
going
not like it used to be.
Going through the fields.
All right. The Goose wants to know. He says, "You're a big football guy. What's your opinion on Cam Newton going to the Patriots?"
I'm intrigued. Anytime you have a quarterback that's played for the same team for so long, you kind of get an idea of what you think that the talent and the performance of that quarterback is, but there's also the system that he's in for all those years and the culture of that team and how that team's managed from the top down. And so anytime you see a quarterback spend so many years with the same team get put in another situation, there's a lot of intrigue and curiosity about it gives you an opportunity, I guess, to see really what that individual player can do, because now he's out of that environment that's that system that he's been playing in, and what can he do? Can he do better? It's the same thing when you see drivers change teams. A race car driver driving for the same team for so long, then goes to another program, and sometimes can become a winning driver, or maybe not. We've seen it with. I remember when Joe Montana left the 49ers and went to the Kansas City Chiefs. I was a big Joe Montana fan. I wasn't a 49ers fan or a Chiefs fan, but Joe Montana to me was someone who I respected as a young person, and I was like, oh man, Chiefs. I hope he can do well, And I'm sure there's a lot of Cam fans out there that are extremely excited. He's going to a place where there's been a ton of success, and this could be a real opportunity just to see how good he can be. The only concerns are obviously the past injuries. The injury history that has plagued him over the last couple of years has limited his play. But when he's healthy, he's pretty dynamic, and I think in that situation it could be a win for Cam and for the Patriots. So it's always cool to have storylines like that in sports. And, those are the fun parts, the fun things about sports is that kind of redemption, the comeback, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you're a fan of the underdog or the Cinderella story, or maybe you like cheering on an icon like Tom Brady, whatever it is. That's what's great about sports. And so I'm sure Cam's pretty excited to get that opportunity.
All right, guys, that's it for today.
All right, y'all. I appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot of great questions. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope you'll tune in. We got Paul Morris on the show. Paul is an Australian race car driver, someone who I became friends with through a trip to Australia back around 2007. We are great friends, and he's got a lot of great stories to tell you guys, a lot of funny stuff, even one about a shark. So hope you guys will tune in to the podcast when Matthew gets that out. Thanks for tuning in for these the Ask Junior here, presented by Xfinity.